Yes, this is Chris Leo, one quarter of the Black Super Friends podcast. And we would like to say just because you trash, that doesn't mean you can't do great things. Even the word is garbage can, not garbage cannot. Thank you.
Amen. Boy.
Fool me, cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way. I follow, no need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow.
Yes. I'm so happy that you're here tonight with us. You could have been any place in the world, but you're here with us, and it's Monday, and we love you for that. I want to get right into it. Last week, we had a show on a variety of topics. One of the topics was mental health therapy. And I sent out a back signal on the show. I seen Ezsa in the comments, and I said, you know what? I extended my hand to Olive Branch and see if we can get her on the show to just talk to us more about mental health and therapy, especially for Black men. So we are so happy to have you here, Ezsa. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. I am so honored to finally be on the show. Thank you for having me, guys, everyone. So my name is Ezsa Allen. I'm a mental health counselor, therapist. I've been a mental health therapist for over 15 years now. I do counseling with children and adults, and specifically depression, anxiety, PTSD, trauma, childhood trauma, and ADHD in children. I have my own counseling agency called Social Age Counseling that I do therapy with middle school and high school kids in Palm Beach County. And I also have my nonprofit called Mind Over You that I do free events within the community to promote mental health, especially in the minority communities.
Okay, cool. I don't want to give this an interview vibe. I
Okay.
want to give this more of a conversation vibe. So we have questions. I'm sure you want to say something. We had a segment last week on mental health. I thought you got a chance to check it out, and there was some critiques you wanted to say or anything like that. But first and foremost, I have to have a question.
Go ahead.
What is mental health, and why is it important? And why is it important to you?
Very good. So, mental health is simply the way we think, the way we act, the way we react, how we respond in relation to our significant other, in our careers, with our children. Everything stems from our mindset. And that's why it's very important for us to take care of our mental health because everything starts from that. So, when you talk about your upbringing, your culture, your peers, your environment, all that molds who you are and who you become. So everything outside of you opening your mouth to your body language, to your action, that stems from your quote unquote mental health. And just like we have a physical health, you see our bodies, we have a mental health as well that we don't physically see. So that's why sometimes it's not as important as the physical health. But it is just as important as the physical health because our mental health, again, controls everything in which we do individually. Why is it important to me? Because I feel like, well, not that I feel, I know that mental health works for those who work it, right? We all, excuse me, are born. We all have, not all have children, but we're born. And then some of us has children. Both concepts are brought into this world with no, how do you say, no manual. So there's no manual on how to be kind of like the perfect way of growing up. There's no manual of raising children, right? So we're all going to do it based on what we know how to, what we've seen in our parents, what we've learned from learned behaviors, whatever it may be. So if you grew up in a household where you kind of just always heard of yelling, anger, you grew up in a single family household, your perception is going to be geared towards what you were taught, so to speak. Then life hits you. There's grief, there's, financial issues, there's the growing up wanting to be accepting, there is, if you grew up being bullied, all that takes a toll on your emotions. And if you don't know how to deal with your emotions, you're going to kind of lash out in a way that you only know how. And sometimes anger is the first emotion that kind of comes out. If we don't learn how to properly cope with our emotions, then we're going to kind of deal with it the best way we know how to. And sometimes that's always in a negative aspect.
For starters, do you guys have any questions? Because I got plenty.
Well, I thought, nah, I ain't gonna say that. I thought after you guys had y'all discussion, and I've always been adamant that I was selfish with Issa. We've had a lot of one-on-ones on IG, and she's someone who I kind of use when I need to have a question or something I want to have a dialogue about. But I'll share it. That's why we do the lives. I hit her the other day with something, but she wasn't available. Um, and I know at some point you're going to have some dialogue where you had issues with what we said last week. Like for me, I had an issue where I felt like, similar to what Chris is saying, is an agenda. There's such a push for black men to get therapy, but then some of those people, like a certain celebrity had put out there, oh, I'm offering mental health for black men, and they were sponsoring it. And everybody was raving and they were sharing the story. And then the undertone was, this is free therapy for black men that want to come out. And I was mad with that because, hey, for those that have that issue, cool. But what I just say, black men that need therapy, I just feel like it's always an agenda with the feminization of men, like getting us in our feelings that bother me. So that was my issue.
So I didn't see that post and or comment. And when you say come out, was that talking about sexuality?
Yeah, coming out as, I guess, gay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And how did they correlate that to mental health?
We want to know the same thing, but the mental health was tied into for those who saying that they were having issues because they were really gay and they needed help to come out. And I'm like, okay. But the story just said actress appoints X amount of money for black men to get therapy, and it was a big campaign about therapy. And then and then you read the story, and you're like, wow, there's a lot missing from that story, from the headline, I should say.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know how to answer that either because I don't know the whole story.
Well, I'm saying that is one of the reasons I personally, even though I've had a stigma related to mental therapy, now I don't trust it. I'm pretty sure there's some great therapists, but it's like, if I take my son and say he needs therapists, I got to really do a review of who I'm putting my son on a couch with.
Correct.
Because who knows what he's going to introduce in conversation.
No, I agree with that. And that should be done generally. Like that should be done across the board. Just like when you see a doctor, you should want to kind of know their background and their history. It's something similar to therapists. You should do a little bit of research, so to speak, on that therapist. So that is correct. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, me personally, I'm not here to make an indictment on therapy. I'm here to try to learn more. You told me the importance of it, and I understand that. But why do you think it's such a significant push on us black men? Oh, this is how we see it.
Okay.
Wait a second.
So,
Time out. Hold on, E. Hold on. Wait. We speeding. We've been got into this mental health so far. We forgot to shout out our brother. Our comrade is missing tonight. I know Mario would love to be here, but he couldn't because he's celebrating the birth of a brand new young king. Young Dylan has graced our presence. He's now with us. So we want to shout out my brother that's missing. We don't want to take away from you, Issa, but we got to make sure that we make mention to our homeboy. And definitely, like I said, our brand new nephew that we haven't met yet, that he's gonna be getting all this fine tutelage that we taking in this afternoon and evening. So definitely. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
DeMario is starting to be one of my favorite fathers. So I'm just want to throw it out there. I would like to ask you, how did you come up with the name Dylan? But okay, back to what we were saying.
It's a big deal. That's why
we feel as though it's a strategic push on us. Why do you think that is? Or are we mistaken?
So here's the thing. I like to say we are a group of people, black and brown, are some of the people that have dealt with so much trauma in whatever aspect you want to take it. We've dealt with so much trauma, and we have been taught to deal with things ourselves. And again, deal with things how you learn, not to not spread your business, to not try to seek help, to deal with it as you can. Deal with it in your household. Don't let people know what's going on. So we've dealt with so much trauma, yet we are a group of people who don't seek help to try to unlayer the traumas, unlayer the issues that's been going on, unlayer the depression, unlayer the anxiety, unlayer all the unhealthy coping mechanisms that we do. Example, sex, drugs, alcohol, shopping addiction, you can name it. If we could kind of, again, when we're hurt physically, we go to the doctor. If we're hurt with our emotions, if you have a divorce, that affects you. If you lose a mom, that affects you. If you lose a child, that affects you. If you have no money to pay your light bill, that affects you. If you grow up with a household with just a single parent and no father figure or no mother figure, either way, boy or girl, that affects you. So we need to learn how to deal with our issues, our generational curses, our household traumas, whatever it may be. You need to learn how to cope with life. And if you don't have like that quote unquote guidance, then that's where a therapist will come in to help you, take you from where you are to where you want to be.
So hold on, stop right there. Now, Ezsa, I'm glad that you said all those things. I like what you started with, because as you said, or as you know, with us, the way we grew up. And one of the things we grew up with is, if you're going to go see a therapist, that boy ain't right upstairs, or he a little loose, or some type of condescending remark that you get labeled with. We're Black people. We're famous for nicknames.
That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna crack on you.
You see what I'm saying? So when you're encouraging and follow me, and hopefully I'm right in what I'm saying, Chris, for us as Black men, how do we take all those years, 30 plus years of what we've been taught, grew up in, and say that, oh yeah, that's nothing, and just be brave enough to walk in and do some of the things that you were talking about, like telling our business, being vulnerable with individuals we don't know. All our lives we've been told, no snitching, you don't talk to nobody about what's going on inside your house and things of those natures, and then expect for men to be open or receiving to that. And it seems like, and I guess the reason why I'm saying that, Chris, and again, stop me if I'm wrong, it seems like we're the focus, us as Black men. No one else is this information being pushed on like that. And if you can enlighten us as why that may be.
Yeah, let me start with when you said that, oh, that's nothing. Well, because you shouldn't say, oh, that's nothing, because, oh, that's nothing, whatever that means or that looks like for you, that's a whole hell of a lot of shit, right? So you want to take, oh, that's nothing, and bring it to the forefront and deal with it. And that's first and foremost, deal with it, right? You want to deal with your, oh, that's nothing, right? Because it is something. But you have to first educate yourself. First and foremost, you have to ask yourself, am I happy with myself? Am I happy with the way things are going with my life? You live with yourself every day. You look in the mirror, you sleep on the same, you live with your own self. You can fake it to the world, but when that person you looking in the mirror, you got to ask yourself, am I happy? Is this the route that I'm trying to go? Do I want to bring this to my children? Do I want to continue this with my children? Or do you want to be a better you for your children? Do you want to break the curses that your fathers and mothers brought to you? Because our parents, they only dealt with what they had. So 9 times out of 10, they only gave us barely survival skills. You understand? Because they were trying to survive themselves. So we only took on the bare minimal of things. So when you talk about Black and brown cultures versus other cultures, they already set. They have their inheritance. They're set in life. We are, if you ask me, 10 steps behind already from birth. Baby Dylan is from birth because of his skin color, because of who, you know what I'm saying? So he's already behind. So to get ahead, we have to break the stigma. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to want to do better, not only for ourselves, but for our children, our spouses, and to just, collectively get together and do better. You said also to, why are we attacking the Black men? Because you guys are supposed to be the leaders. That's why. You understand? And we have a lot of household with broken families, with fatherless homes. We have a lot of Black males in jail, right? If we talk about jail, 90%, I forget the statistic, but it's very high. 90%, I might be wrong, but is filled with people who are taking mental health drugs or medication. I shouldn't say drugs, but medication. You understand? So instead of attacking the problem at its core issue, we're just kind of caging everybody and then just putting them away. And then what are the mothers and the single mothers or the children supposed to do? You understand? You're
Now,
supposed to be our leaders, our guide, the person who's guiding us.
so let me ask you one more question inside that, because what you were talking about, the drugs and things like that, that's the second part to what I want to touch bases on, but I'll get to that later on. And that's the monetizing of the therapy and the mental health industry, and just trying to make sure that we're not getting swept into that, because we already know as Black individuals or consumers that we're known as consumers. So for us, a lot of times as men, we feel like we're being baited into something else for us to spend our money on, so to speak. But I'll touch that a little later on, because I had something that I wanted to ask you about. Maybe you'll be able to enlighten me on that too. But what you were talking about with us being leaders. So if iron sharpens iron, right? And you get yourself around individuals who have the same ambition and goals as you, and you guys are talking in that same facet, so to speak, wouldn't that work versus actually having to sit in with a therapist? And the reason why I'm saying that is because a lot of our answers that we gave last week were where we, bounce information off of individuals around us that we respect their opinion. Not that they're professionals or anything, but that we can self-reflect, as you were talking about a lot. Shout out to my cousin Richard. He's a therapist as well. But I wanted to kind of just talk about that. Wouldn't that be an alternative that we could use versus actually going to have to sit with a therapist, or what is the pros and the cons, I guess, is the better question.
So the question is it the same as seeking counseling?
Yeah, like if you have individuals who are doing well in life, right?
Okay.
And versus you actually sitting down with a licensed therapist, you confide in, that's the word I'm looking for, in your inner circle of friends, and you can kind of self-fix and do the mirror conversation with yourself and kind of fix the pieces. Is therapy necessary? I guess the best question.
So that
best way to phrase that question.
No worries. And I don't ever think that you have to always go to a therapist if you deem that you are coping with life in a healthy manner, if that makes sense, right? However, there is a method to counseling. There is a method to therapy. There's an evidence-based approach that each therapist uses to their own fit, to individualize to the client in front of them, to match whatever it is they're dealing with, to get them again from where they are at to where they need to be. Now, when you say talking with someone, if that rocks your boat and that floats, and again, back to your individual self. If at night you go to bed and you're saying, you know what, I feel better, I feel relieved, I don't feel anxious, I'm not angered, you deal with life, if you can see the proof in the pudding, if that makes sense, then do you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you got to be real with yourself. You got to be honest with yourself to say, you know what, am I just going to somebody that's just going to sugarcoat things with me, or am I going to like-minded person who really don't want to do the work, so to speak, and just going to tell me what I want to hear? Because sometimes we know who to go to with what to go to, if that makes sense. You understand? So you need to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable for your actions. And again, that's going to be that therapist. And every therapist is different. You have some therapists that's going to sugarcoat you, right? But I can say to myself, you can ask any client of mine, I'm going to rock with you, but I'm going to tell you where your faults are. I'm going to tell you where you need to improve. I like to go off strengths and weaknesses. You lead with your strengths and then you work on your weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. We all deal with life. Life is going to hit us at any time. If life didn't hit you yet, keep on living. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of where you are, if you feel like you're okay, if you like you love your life and you feel like you're going in the right way and nothing's bothering you, you're not grieving, you're not depressed, or you're not constantly sad, you're not anxious, you don't have, fears, worries. I mean, if you live in a perfect life.
Okay. You said something about in your little soliloquy, you said something about we're supposed to be leaders. No, Issa, we are leaders. What we need is better followers.
I'm sorry, you said,
you said that we're supposed to be the leaders. No, Issa, we are the leaders. What we need is better followers. The stigma is weird. It's said that we're not communicating, or we don't talk. I see more male podcasts speaking their mind more than any other time I've ever seen in history. Yet we're still told that we're not talking. Maybe we need better listeners. Because when we do talk and we do express things the way we see it, how we see it, A lot of us are getting shut down. A lot of us are getting canceled. People get taken off the air when men talk the way they want to talk. So, and that brings me back to the last show. Horace talked about, I want to have a black male therapist. Now, I thought when I first heard it, I thought it was a good idea. But then I thought about it myself. I'm like, if therapy is about truly opening up via conversation, wouldn't I feel more comfortable with an older, more motherly type woman? If I'm going to cry, I probably would rather cry in front of her than a man. So that brings me to my ultimate question. When he said that, does gender, race, should that play a part in choosing a therapist, and why?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to when you said that you need more followers and listeners.
I said we are the leaders. That's what
Correct.
I said first, Issa.
You are the leaders, Chris, and you need more followers and listeners.
Yeah, better.
Yes. I think that's a different topic and a different show.
Yes.
You understand? Because that is going to be the debating between men, women, blah, blah, blah. And then, and me and Horace talked about this before. And that's a whole different topic when you talk about relationships and leaders and followers, because as women, especially today's women, they're going to want to have, they're just not free-nilly following anymore. You have to make them, again, that's a different topic, and I don't want to lead off that topic, okay? However, the gender topic of so each individual is different. So you just said that you thought about it, and you said that I would feel more better with an older type figured woman, right? That grandma figure. So that what you're describing is something that's in your mindset. That makes you feel comforted, right? Everyone doesn't have that same perception or thought process as to why that made you feel more comfortable to get that therapist that is that figure type. Horace may have an issue, just figuratively speaking. Horace may have an issue with his father to where he wants that, that authoritative figure. He might want, his upbringing might be different. So his perception is going to be different. You understand? So his view of what a therapist should be like is going to be that figure. Zay might have a whole nother, he might want a therapist. You know what I'm saying? He might want somebody on the same level as him that he can relate to, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, you're never going to know until you speak to that therapist. Everybody says it takes like 3 sessions. I say it takes 1 session to know if you're going to be relatable to your therapist or not, right? But you do have to find a perfect fit. Not everybody is going to be your perfect fit, so to speak. But if you're looking for that figure type, I would go with that. I mean, there's no problem looking for that. There's an array of therapists out there.
Let me push back on Chris right quick. Chris, you said you need that grandmother type to confide in.
I said if I was going to open up, when I think about it, if I was going to open up, be vulnerable, and cry in front of somebody, I would rather it be a grandma type than an older man, than a man like me.
Nope, I'm mad at you for saying that, because you can't say that we are leaders and then you're going to run to grandma. You can't. I like what Erica just said. Grandma wasn't healed though. And
grandma has always been valued counsel in every black America, so we're not going to do that.
But we got to keep one message. The only reason why I'm saying that is because if we are always saying that the men are supposed to lead, we got to lead. We got to take that pressure off of grandma. So we do got to lead. And something me and Hardy, and I wish he was here, because this was a point that he was talking about, which is men make men. Women, we can't. I think a part of the problem that we've been having is women have been telling men how to be men. And I've said this several times. I don't know if people miss my message or whatnot, but women can't tell men how to be men. You need to hear that from a man. Your basketball coach growing up is what toughened you up a little bit more, because you know what I'm saying? We had to learn how to face adversities in life. And I think that we do have to find, men that we can have that conversation that are relatable. And that's my only pushback on that. Other than that, I just think that men got it.
I totally agree with you. What I was talking about is a episode where I'm being vulnerable and at the point of crying. I don't want to do that for a man. I don't need that with a man. I've learned so many things, so many valuable things about manhood from men. Right. I don't ever go to women to check my manhood. What I would talk about as far as therapy, I thought that it was about opening up, being vulnerable to the point where you would cry. I would probably feel more comfortable crying. I don't have a father per se, or at all. But I would be more comfortable opening up with my grandmother.
And that's to each his own. Your therapist should be that should be you, between you. That therapeutic relationship should be between you and your therapist, to where you guys have this relationship to where you are safe enough and comforted enough to feel like you can open up and say your darkest secrets, because by law, we're not supposed to share any type of information. So you should be in that space to where you feel safe and, again, comforted to open up, so that you can lay all your heartaches on the table. You can lay all your traumas on the table, whatever it may be. It should be a no judgment zone. It should be nothing, to where when you lay it out, that therapist is supposed to help you pick those pieces back up like a puzzle and help you fit it back so you can get on with where you need to go.
One more question before Hart. I know I've been freezing you out, but I got so many questions. I keep on hearing the word healed. That the vagueness about therapy is what really give me precautions. What is healed? How do we know when we're healed? Is there any way of quantifying it? Is it any, like, if let's say I was suffering from cardiovascular health, there's machines that can spot my progress. How do we do that with therapy? Because I'm hearing a lot of words from non-therapists about being healed. How do you know that?
So there's something called triggers, right? And in our emotions, we are triggered by certain smells, something that we see, something that we hear. So for instance, let's say little Jessica, I'm just throwing this out. Little Jessica is 7 years old and she's been molested. That happens a lot in our community. She's been molested by an uncle or a neighbor, whatever it may be, right? And she's been having sex with this person till she's 10. She didn't say anything till she's 10. And now she is triggered by his cologne. So every time she smells this cologne, she's triggered. And it brings her so much anxiety and fear that your brain, your subconscious is so powerful. Your mind is built to help you remember traumatic things so you don't go back into it. Your anxious feelings are for a reason, right? But when it gets out of hand, or it is something that stops you from living your daily life, that's when it becomes a disorder or a problem. So back to little Jessica. Now she smells this cologne, and every time she's around somebody and, she comes around somebody and she smells that cologne, she like freaks out. Nobody has no clue why this child is freaking out, right? And that's because she's been molested. So she finally, 20 years later, she goes and she sees a therapist because she's realizing, okay, I can't live life because I'm always in fear, whatever it may be. When she goes through her therapy, and in the end of therapy, and the counselor deems that, you went through a whole array of approaches, and after she's 25 years old, she smells that same cologne and it does nothing to her. She actually forgot the thought that cologne was peered to that trauma. That's where you can, and I don't know if my analogy is helping, but when you have a trigger and that trigger no longer affects you, that's when you've known that you've healed from that issue. Okay. So like, say you get in a car crash, and every time you get in a car, you are anxious. You don't want to drive anymore, right? Because your brain is remembering that this car crash, right? So you go to therapy to get help from PTSD or anxious feelings. And, after your bout of therapy, and it no longer affects the way you think, it no longer affects your mood, your feelings, your behaviors, that's when you learn you can notate that you have moved on from that traumatic experience, so to speak. So then you can deem healed from that. But everybody's healing is different. Their traumatic experience is different. So you have to ask yourself, what am I experiencing? So what they might find traumatic might be different from you, Chris, or might be different from.
But can I judge if he's healed or not?
No one should judge.
We just had a bunch of judgment, and you didn't say anything.
No, look, only God is judge. A judge.
Erica said, Grandmother wasn't healed though, and you said nothing to Erica.
You talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking
What
to you.
about
You
Erica?
flashed it on there. This it. Erica said, "Grandma wasn't healed though, my G." She said it, and you didn't say nothing about it.
I didn't read Eric. I'm not reading.
I'm sorry.
I'm actually paying attention to you guys. So,
You know
Erica, what did you say, honey?
He
What
said, "Grandmother wasn't healed, my G." When I spoke about trying to talk about,
she's just what
she
Erica
wasn't though. She wasn't. You didn't attack her. You didn't say nothing to her.
So, Erica, we shouldn't judge Chris's perception of what he deems that he wants to see. No one should judge because no one knows your story in life. You understand? You're going to portray what you want to portray, but at the end of the day, you only you know what you've been through, right? So no one should judge anybody. Erica.
Yeah, I feel judged. Horace, do you want to chime in?
No, I got nothing for y'all. It's all y'all.
Wow, Horace.
I do. I want the guys who have issues, have.
See, he's
judging. Boy,
this is the problem that we have. We always told.
I'm fine.
We're told that because you're something wrong with you. You the one need it. You need this, and I don't know if that's coming from a loving place. It's coming from a condescending place. That's why we get pushback from it.
Ezsa, I'm gonna have a real moment. You see the guy with all the teeth on the bottom smiling?
That's Mr.
He's my brother. He knows the shit at me sometimes. Listen,
all the time.
When we created this podcast, I had just came out of I made a dramatic decision, and it was a life-changing decision, right?
Okay.
But I seen where I'm always looking forward to certain stuff. And a lot of conversations that we had at our house or in the forum, man, we would have some conversations that made me say, well, God damn. I mean, like, we would have life-changing conversations. Me and Chris stayed together. And Chris could be an asshole who will give you, I mean, the way he would drop something on you, you'd be like, damn, like he is brilliant in that aspect. Mario is wise as well. And I said all that to say, people, I seen a meme that said black men don't get therapy, they have a podcast. Man, while that's funny, you know how much I've gained from doing this show with them? It helped me through a dramatic period. These conversations that we had with each other, what is it, iron sharpens iron, has helped me to kind of dig into myself and see some things, realize our triggers. I used to say something on the show for years, and one day Chris said something to me, and it actually just got me. It made me realize something. I was like, wow, I've been horribly wrong about it. So I think when people laugh about black men and the need for therapy and how we start podcasts, hell, to be honest, a lot of the male podcasts I see are great because men are talking, and hell, they're giving insight to men and women. And be honest, man, we've never really talked before. You can have 4 men in a room and they work together for years and really don't know much about each other. So I just said all that to say this show has helped me. So it was therapy for me, and I think that just having this friendship with them guys, even if they don't have therapy, you should have a supporting cast around you that you can have those raw conversations. But it requires truth. Now, one thing about me, I'm 100% with them, honest. And a lot of times I might get jokes, I might get some drawback. But the point is, I cannot ask them to give me real feedback if I don't give them real input. And I think that's, you can go to therapy all day, but if you just go into therapy, I'm not being accusatory, but people go to therapy and bullshit themselves. It still takes work. Correct. So I don't like when people make that joke about black men use podcasts for therapy, because at least men are talking.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And I think it's a good thing that you guys are doing it. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with getting like-minded adults and being open. And again, having that safe space to kind of share your experiences. You say a question and get some feedback if you're going to listen to it. And again, being honest is key, and being open to hearing someone else's feedback, so to speak. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think it's commendable what you guys are doing. And if you feel any kind of way about it, and just, you just try to not let it affect you as much. But I think you're doing a great thing. You all are doing a great thing.
You ain't lying.
So, yeah,
Move,
I was just
moving
gonna say
on.
that.
We have
I was gonna
a
ask. Go ahead.
we have a question coming in from our cast member that isn't here. Say, can you play it, or if you guys can't hear it, Zay translate it for you.
I can do neither.
You can do
I
neither.
think I typed it. I can do neither. He gave me an
Okay.
Inspector Gadget message.
Listen, Chris, I got it. You know, he just shows up and acts out every goddamn episode. Here goes the question, Issa. First question: why do black men get attacked when they opt out? When they opt out of taking therapy, they say, "Hey, I don't want to do therapy." Why do black men get attacked? That's the question.
Well, no one should again be attacked for doing something or not doing something. Everyone, or let's revert it back to black men. You have to be willing to seeking help before you receive it. It's just like, let me use my words wisely here. It's just like someone on drugs. You cannot push them to a treatment center and say, here, get treatment. They're going to fall on their ass 1,000 times before they deem they need help. I'm not saying that's the case with anybody. I'm just saying you can't push anybody to get treatment, and you shouldn't attack anybody who don't want to get treatment. I will say this, the stigma in our community, black and brown, is still high. And for that, it shuns us away from going to therapy because, you know, the people who are still cracking jokes or, you know, making it seem like it's a bad thing or just saying, oh, well, I just don't get therapy. You know, you're not making it easy for the other person to go say, you know what, I want to get therapy or help, because it's not quote unquote cool yet. But once it becomes cool, then everybody gonna jump on the bandwagon, right? But it's not cool yet, or it's not something that is, the stigma is still high. So nobody's just gonna willingly wake up and say, you know, I want to go to my therapist today. But when we talk about the other kinds, they got their therapist on speed dial. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, you know, at some point, just like you have your doctor, you know your doctor's number, you should have someone in the event you need it, right? That's all it is. It's for you to get help when you need it. Not everybody's walking around needing therapy, but at some point you may need it. At some point you might say, you know what? Maybe I am selfish. And you keep on hearing somebody calling you selfish. At some point you'd be like, so maybe I got some anger issues and I need to just check that in me and figuring out that maybe I just can't keep a job. Or maybe I go from relationships to relationships. At some point, you're going to figure out something within you needs some tweaking. And that's all it is. There's nothing wrong with getting therapy.
Well, the way you speak of it, you make it seem as though it's extremely needed, and everyone can use it. And my question is, why isn't there a push to have it under insurance? Why isn't it when you get your job, it's not insurable? Why if I get a scholarship to a college, why isn't it in wrapped into my college? Why isn't it part of my job? If it's this needed, why isn't it not more accessible, for one? And the price, can you talk about the price point? Do you feel that because at the price point it is, even on the low end, you're talking about a luxury, which is, you know, I think what family's going to have to budget in, whether it's worth it then. What do you think about that?
I think there's something called pharmaceutical sales that push for people who are ill to get medication so that their pocket. Do you understand how much these people make per year? Oh my gosh. So the idea to push illness in this community or this culture is if y'all want to talk about an agenda, that's an agenda. You understand? To keep everybody ill, to feed us bullshit food, to put processed shit in our meats and our milk and we feeding our kids shit. Like, y'all want to talk about an agenda? That's something that y'all need to talk about. Is the illness in this country that people are pushing. No one talks about the health. How many liquor stores or McDonald's or Burger King you see on a corner compared to a healthy food store or something that you can, a healthy food store? Like the ratio is like this. You understand? So my answer to that is that they're pushing for people to continue to be ill, because if you get better, you won't need medication to pay for. Correct. It's the monetary. What was your second question? I'm sorry.
They're putting It runs right into it. They put these things in these neighborhoods because they're low income neighborhoods.
Correct.
Again, so if therapy, if the low income people can't afford therapy, how do we get it into those neighborhoods, just like McDonald's, just like liquor stores? How do we get it there? At what price point?
So every insurance, okay, now I shouldn't say every, most insurance come with a behavioral health sector that pays for therapy. Okay, so if you have Medicaid, you get therapeutic care through your Medicaid provider. All the top-notch insurance have that. They call it behavioral health. So most insurance, and I think most people are supposed to be insured nowadays since the Obamacare thing. So most people should have insurance. So most insurance have that sector in there. For those who don't have insurance, there are some places that take online where it's really, really inexpensive. I think they go all the way down to like $30 now. I don't know if it's for a half an hour or a whole hour, but there are different places where they're trying to make it more affordable. But yes, it is pricey to see a therapist. It's not,
That would make
nothing.
it a luxury.
So that was the second part to the question that I was asking you guys earlier when I was talking about the monetization. And that's another thing, because, again, like I said, I feel like we as Black people are looked on as cattle or consumers. How can they extrapolate more money from us? And here comes therapy being ushered in. And yes, you're correct. Our counterparts have been doing this and having therapy or therapists on speed dial for years. And we've joked about it growing up, but understanding when we got older, the severity of it. So only reason I'm saying that is, I come in and we were having this lovely episode tonight, and Cigna sent me a letter outlining mental health and substance use disorders and letting me know that there are new coverages and benefits just for those things. So when you start talking about the monetization, I think us as Black people or Black males, because again, it's not something that's taught to us from when we're young, start looking at this like, oh man, here they go, another way to get money, like Chris was alluding to earlier or just before me talking. So how do we combat that then? How do we combat that as Black men, as far as making a decision on even stepping outside of our comfort zone of saying that I'm going to go to a therapist without feeling like we're being bamboozled or something to that nature? How do we even go? How do we vet that, I guess, is the better question.
Let me ask y'all this question, and I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but if I don't, just refer back to me.
Hmm.
Y'all feel bamboozled when you get hurt and you go to the hospital?
We don't. We're Black men. We don't go to the hospital.
That's a true fact. But when you do have to go,
Speak for yourself.
you feel bamboozled?
When you get that bill, you do. Yes. When you get that bill, you do feel bamboozled. What the hell is this? I don't care if insurance is paying for some of it. So what can you see?
I only correlate it to that because at the end of the day, it's for your health. Health is wealth. You understand? So you should want to, what, Chris?
I kind of don't understand, because if I go in there for a broke ankle, they wrap up my ankle, they tie it up, they give me drugs, they do whatever, and they send me home. I can see, it's tangible.
I said in the beginning of this conversation, mental health is something you cannot see. That's
exactly. It's the vagueness of it.
Yeah, but you feel it. You got a brain, don't you feel it? You have emotions. Have you never acted out?
Sessions? How many sessions? Because I'm paying $150 an hour. How many sessions before I feel it?
Not $150 an hour.
Look, how many sessions before I'm healed? I go to the doctor. They give me a Band-Aid. 2 or 3 weeks. The scars might be there, but I'm healed. I'm paying $150 an hour. You didn't need to tell me when I get to heal.
I can't tell you when you're going to heal.
Oh Lord,
I can't. In all honesty, I'm gonna give it to you raw. I would not tell you when you're going to be healed, because I'm not you, and I'm not dealing with your issues. You coming to me for guidance and a link to get to what you're dealing with today and what you want to get healed from, or where you want to be in life, so to speak. So that is dependent on you, like how much work you do. The mind, as soon as you change your mindset, you change your life, and I swear to you, it works. You understand? But you have to get out of that mindset of what you're in. You have to change your perception on things. Sometimes you got to change the people you hang around, because sometimes that negative energy is real. When I tell you energy is real, you can't, you have to put yourself into a space to where you block out all negative energies, all negative people. You have to put yourself priority. and work on you.
Whew. I don't know when the last time you hung around with some healed people. Boy, they are very condescending. So you saying I got to change my environment, but when I get around a lot of healed people, they look
They
down
talk
on us unhealed people. They talk about us. They tell us we need to do this, and we're
Who is to
unhealed.
deem them healed? Who
Huh?
said that they're healed? There's nobody walking around with a label that says I'm healed, I'm not healed.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to each his own. You
Yeah.
have to get that vibe from your own self. If you're dealing with somebody and they make you feel less than, that's nobody you need to be dealing with. You understand? Like, the people who you choose to be around should be either uplifting you, like Horace just said. Y'all come together, y'all friends, y'all come together, y'all can talk whatever. You might get some backlash, you might get some cracking. At the end of the day, you feel good, and what you're saying is a safe space. And at the end of the day, y'all learn from each other and y'all grow. That's a healthy environment. You got to ask yourself, is this a healthy environment? You got to ask yourself, is this person, thing, or place conducive to my health and where I need to go in life? You got to be tunnel vision on your career, where you want to be, and on your health. You understand? Everything else is for the birds. I'm at the age in life right now, like, I'm not trying to please nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like you just asked me what happened to my show, what I told you.
You quit.
I
And
didn't
the people in the
quit.
street still need you. You quit, and the street still need you.
No, because I had to, like, kind of put my priorities in order. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to help so much, but at the end of the day, I got my own family. You know what I'm saying? I got to be tunnel vision on what I need, my ducks in a row, so to speak. So at some point, everybody got to say, you know what is it that's priority for me? Is this conducive, again, to my health, my wealth, and where I'm trying to go in life? If it's not, then what we doing?
Makes sense.
Anybody else want to jump in? Because I got more.
Go ahead.
Nah, well, we only got an hour, so
I know we got 8 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Then you load.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
In addition, I just want to say this, in addition to your mental health, you really have to, us folks, we have to really watch what we eat, because what you eat changes your mood. What, Horace?
You're not putting out fried chicken.
You have to watch what you eat. Like, seriously, we have to watch what we eat. We have to watch the water intake. We have to watch our sleep intake. There's another one: eating, sleeping, water intake, exercise.
What you listening to?
We got to start exercising. Like, we can't just, like, do, like, not exercise, eat shit every day, no water, and then when we feel shitty, then it's like, what you gonna do? Like, we really have to, it has to be an overall cognitive effort to doing better overall, not just the therapeutic aspect, because it can't change your mood. Exercise, like, our brain and our body is formulated by God, that He really, like, put things into place where everything works together. You know what I'm saying? So if you eat shitty, you're gonna feel shitty, and if you feel shitty, you're gonna do shitty shit. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? What you think you feel, then you do. Why are you laughing, Say?
Because you from where we from, I understood every word.
It's the truth, though. We gotta stop thinking about what the other person is like. We gotta stop making excuses for the things that we don't want to do, if that makes sense. Because therapy is for your own health. So who cares what anybody eats? That's nobody should be knowing all that. You don't go and broadcast, hey, you know what I'm saying? That's between you and your therapist. That's not something to be brought. Why is it a big?
What's not to be broadcast?
That seems to be the it thing though right now.
What's not to be broadcast?
You need to be healed, like Chris was saying. You get talked that, and then that's a problem. You need to be healed. I go to therapy, and things of that nature you may hear. So that's the kind of the norm. So I know you're saying that you're not supposed to. We probably wouldn't, knowing us, because we already told you, like, that's already some caveat for us. But it is, flaunted and thrown about, so that's just out there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, to me, this might be my last question, but To me,
Probably
I
not.
always want to know like what's the end goal of therapy, especially for men. Like let's just say everybody had a way. All black men is in therapy. What's the end goal? Because for me, I'm a person that believes this. I believe that we didn't create any of these emotions. We experience all these emotions, and all of them have a purpose. I don't want to be able to not feel anger because I believe that there's a purpose for anger. A lot of times, anger turns into can turn in if that energy is directed the right way, it turns into courage. Sadness, sometimes that energy is the birth of compassion and empathy for people. So I don't want to not experience or water down any experience that I have, and especially as a man, at some point there's going to be wartime. At some point there's going to be a need for a soldier. If I take away all this toxic masculinity, who's going to be there to protect us when toxic men come to harm us or a toxic situation? You know what I'm saying? That's the part that I struggle with because I believe that every emotion has its value if the energy from that emotion is channeled the right way.
So you're absolutely correct when you say every emotion has its value. So to be angry, sad, disgusted, fearful, happy, excited, all those emotions are in that's emotions that we were given that we should learn that it's okay to feel all those emotions. Okay. The problem exists when you do not know how to cope with your emotions. So the person who is angry lashes out for everything. You never been around somebody who's always angry or who always uses his anger as his first defense in any situation? Like he has no other emotion? None. Just angry. No matter the situation, anger is the first emotion that leads. You don't know nobody like that.
Yeah, I know some people like that.
Okay. Do you know anybody who's always sad where they can't leave their room or they can't take care of their children or they can't continue with society or their social being or um their sadness is consistent. They stay in the same room every day. They are irritable. They are always thinking of death. They always
Yeah.
think of, you know anybody like that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know anybody who is grieving to the point to at some point they might want to take their own life?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are healthy.
No, but those are also extreme. And
That's
what's
what
being
that's
pushed
what therapy is
is being pushed
for.
to all of us. I agree.
Correct.
I can agree with you in those situations.
And
Yes.
nobody know there's not everybody. If you can handle all your emotions well, Chris, kudos to you. I am speaking for the people who are going through some real shit. I'm speaking to the people who truly put on a facade
Mhm.
to you, right? And behind closed doors, they want to kill themselves. They legit don't want to live today. They don't want to wake up for tomorrow. They are dealing with some real shit. Maybe you have some people in your corner that's supportive enough to help you through whatever you're going through. Maybe you had that grandma that helped you and gave you that nurturing you needed, right? There's a lot of little boys that's not growing up with a mother or a father. They're raising their damn self and they're just learning how to survive. You understand? These are a lot of my children in school. So you're having these kids in today's society, which is different from ours, right? Totally different, being the next generation that they're just kind of surviving, and then what's leading them is freaking YouTube and video games and like come on, like it's a different era nowadays. So to say that therapy is not needed, especially in our black and
Not
brown,
what I
is
said.
not
That's not what I said.
okay. But I don't think everybody walking should be have a therapy label. I'm just saying that therapy is there for those who need it, and if you don't need it, thank God. But at some point life may hit you and you may need it.
Well, I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to indict therapy. I don't feel like I don't need it. I'm not in no kind of way. I'm here to ask questions, play devil's advocate, and learn. That's all it is.
It sounds like he's getting ready for your couch, Issa, but what do I know?
All I'm trying to do, in all honesty, is to bring the awareness to our black and brown folks to let them know that that is a option for you to seek help when needed, because alcohol is not always the answer, drugs is not always the answer, domestic
Right.
violence Getting your rage off by beating other women is not the answer. Sleeping your life away is not the answer. Stress will hit you. If you don't know how to cope with stress, like it really will hit you and it will morph the chemicals in your brain to where you produce too much hormones called cortisol. You produce too much hormones, and then you're going to develop a disorder in yourself to where you get sick physically. You don't take care of your mind, your body will hit.
That makes sense.
Well, Ezsa.
Yeah.
Well,
we love it.
I don't know if you want to do like a continuation show, but I think from the conversation, from the comments to the dialogue, you kind of prove your point that this conversation is needed. And, you know, Chris reached out to you to come out and do the show. So I think it was a great show. I think you may have to come and do a few appearances.
No worries.
Drop your info. I'm quite sure they'll probably have questions for you afterwards. So you can reach Ezsa, let them know how they can reach you, Ezsa. And I know you said it in the beginning, but I'll give you opportunity to do it again.
Oh, thank you. So you guys can DM me on my Instagram at officially Ezsa on Instagram, or email me at socialagecounseling@gmail.com. I will respond to everybody and help everybody to the best of my abilities. If I cannot, I will definitely point you in the right direction.
So I'll say this. I know we're about to do like closing comments and things. Ezsa, I want to first thank you for coming in and sharing that information with us. I'm going to tell you to type that information in because they may not have caught it. So that way, if anyone needs help, they can tap into you and use you as a source. But like Horace said, probably doing a follow-up because you probably opened up some questions. And again, we just came on to talk with you, kind of learn from you, as Chris had stated before, but then also kind of throw some things in there that we've heard or that we may be afraid of or that has come across us so that you can address them. And like I always feel if I have a question about it, I'm quite sure that someone that's watching has a question or a fear about that same exact thing. So I'll be the sacrificial lamb and say so.
Ezsa, you're putting it in the private chat. Can you please post it as a comment so we can
Well, we got 2 minutes. Can you give your closing comments, Chris, and we give it to Ezsa?
Yes, can I see your shirt, Ezsa, please? And can you take down the comment? Bam. That's all I got. Y'all tune in next Monday.
Share.
Share that. Comments. We're out of here.
I would just love to tell anybody who's struggling with anything that it's okay to not be okay, and it's best practice to take care of yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else is thinking. We all deal with we all have an issue. We all have a background. So don't be afraid to seek help when needed.
All right. We thank y'all for joining us for another show. Ezsa, I refer Ezsa to people with therapy for children. She's amazing. All right, guys. Thank y'all for joining us for another week. And we will be leaving here. Thank you.
Bye.